Hello and welcome to today's episode of Winning Mentality. My name is Daniel Cutright, and I am excited to have our guest today, Miss Keira D'Amato. Keira, how you doing?
I am doing awesome. I'm doing really good. It's been a good day so far. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. You were just telling me you had a great workout this morning.
Yeah, which I ran into you coincidentally. That was pretty funny. But yeah, I had like some mile repeats today, the last like big workout before the marathon project and at the end of next week. So feeling good.
Awesome. Love it. Well, for those that don't know, so Keira, you're just coming off of breaking the American 10-mile record a couple of weeks ago, and we'll talk a little bit about that race. But before we get into maybe your running background, that's not your only gig. That's not your full-time gig. Talk about maybe life outside of running for just a second in your background.
Yeah, I'm a mom of two like extremely energetic kids that keep me on my toes at all times. They're now like one's 6 and one's 4, and they're like just getting into like games. So my son is like been the Connect 4 champ, and my daughter is now like the card game war champ. So we have a lot of like mischief games in our house. And I'm married to Anthony D'Amato, who's just a rock star of a person, and he's just been a really fun partner in crime to have for my life. And then I'm a full-time realtor with a company called Stone Properties here in Virginia. And then I run a lot.
That's awesome. So running really fast, but a full plate nonetheless. And I think that's probably the people that when they, read about you or hear your story, they're always like, how in the world is she doing that on top of a full-time mom, full-time realtor? Maybe before we even jump into running too, like maybe just talk about like the time management aspect, because I think that's something that people always wonder about.
Yeah, I think I get this question asked a lot, like, how do I fit it all in? And I think that I am like really great at just getting into routine and prioritizing my day. And I have a very like solid order. Like first and foremost, it's my family. Second, I have my career, which is real estate. And third, I have running. So like having a really strong order for me helps me make sure that I'm fitting things in the right way. And but then I also think that being so busy just really helps structure my day. And I really thrive off of having the different parts, like with, being a mom and having a chaotic life like that. It's really nice that I have running that's kind of my me time and something that I can control. And that's really fun for me just to have a little bit of space of my own. And then, with real estate, then it's been a really great career, and I work for my mom's business, and I really enjoy that. I'm really passionate about that too. And I really like helping people with usually one of the most exciting times of their life, and then I have family. So I feel like they all kind of fit together, and I need a lot of help and a lot of support with such a busy lifestyle. But I really, we've found a way to make sure that it's balanced enough.
Yeah.
It's not always even, but we been able to maintain some sort of balance.
That's awesome. And it sounds like you guys really work on that all together as a family, like everything's done together. That's so important.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I couldn't, like, if my husband wasn't as supportive as he is, like, it would be
Mm.
really hard. But yeah, we talk about things as a family, we plan it out, and it's been like a team effort in anything that our family does. So.
So cool. So cool. So take us back, maybe like running career wise. How did running start for you? Like from very beginning running career?
Yeah, like I always knew I was quick. I loved like the gym class mile in like fourth, fifth, and sixth grade. Like I looked forward to that day. And I don't know if I have the school record at my elementary school, but I know I was always trying to beat all of the boys too. And there would always be at least one boy that would kick my butt. But every year I was like, I'm gonna win this time, not just like for the girls, like I'm gonna beat all the boys. And that kind of carried into like middle school. And but I also did every other sport. Like I played soccer, I did tennis and swimming and basketball, and anything that was a fun competition, like sign me up. I wanted to be part of it. And then I joined the cross country team at Oakton High School in Northern Virginia to impress the soccer coach, because I thought like that was going to be my thing. And I went out and I won my first race as a freshman. And I was like, I found my thing. I think this is it. And just the running team, the cross country girls, like I felt like I'd finally found like my people, like where I belonged. And it was something that I was good at. I really liked working hard, and, it hurts a lot and it sucks a lot sometimes while you're running, but I felt like I just found it. So I guess that passion just really started to grow starting in high school.
That's awesome. And so then after high school, you went to American University and
Hmm.
ran there, had some success at American.
Yeah, I did. And that was cool running for Matt Sensuet Sr. He is like a legend in his own right, two-time Olympian, American record holder. So I had a lot of confidence going there that he knew the path to running greatness. So if I just did what he said, he would get me there too. So, yep.
Yeah. And you're probably modest, but people, they should know you're 4-time All-American at American, 11-time individual conference champ as well. So pretty stellar career there. And then what was that like going to school? I mean, even like right in your back door, basically.
Yeah, that was really cool. My grandmother lived like less than half a mile away. So I really loved that because like Sunday night dinners, I could go over to her house and do some laundry every now and then at her place, and just having family close was really nice. But yeah, I really loved DC. I mean, the city itself is just beautiful. I loved everything it had to offer. A lot of my classes would say, okay, instead of coming to class, you have to go to this museum or do this activity or go to this event or see this fundraising thing. So it was really cool just to have that access to education in college. And then I loved running for Matt Sensuetz. Him and I got along really, really great. He's a fabulous coach. And I really, I had a good time at American.
Yeah. What'd you study at American?
Math and computer science.
Okay. So using that maybe some now when you're calculating splits and
Yeah, exactly. Although, like, once I started having kids, my math skills just dramatically decreased. Like, I can't do even simple math anymore. I have to like pull up a calculator or ask someone. I don't know what that was during pregnancy that some part of my brain, the math part of my brain, is just gone. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So American, great career. And then after American, did you keep running for a little bit?
Yeah, I did. I joined a team led by Scott Roscoe. It
Okay.
was Alan Webb's team at the time. It was called DC Elite. So I went and ran for them for about 2 years before kind of having it was a perpetual stress fracture in my ankle. So that kind of caused me to, quote unquote, like retire early from the sport. And at that point I was thinking, okay, well, I guess it's time to like fall back onto my math and computer science and go get a job in corporate America and start like quote unquote real life. And that was a really tough transition for me because I wasn't quite ready to be done with running. I had all of these goals that I hadn't reached. So I felt like I quit in a way, even though I felt forced out of it. But it kind of felt like a bad breakup, I guess. But yeah, so kind of that was an awkward transition for me, just trying to figure out. I was always Keira the runner, so how do I be Keira the runner that's no longer running? So that was a little strange, but yeah, I found other things to kind of fill my time, and I just ran. I ended up getting the surgery that fixed my foot, so I knew I could run back at however I wanted to have running in my life. And for pretty much the next decade of my life, I just ran for fun. Like if a girlfriend was going to do a race, I'd hop in. My husband and he runs a lot too, so we'd go on like date runs together. And any sort of like local race, like sign me up. I love doing the races. So that was just it was a period of just I'd say it's like a 10-year hiatus or like my halftime show or whatever. It was a really extended break, but it was just a time that I really just found running just for the fun of it and just for the love of it.
That's awesome. So do you feel like that was like a necessary reset for you?
I don't know if that's for me. Yes. Like I needed that in my life. I don't think my path to where I am now is one that I would recommend for everybody. It's very, untraditional or unconventional, however you want to say it. But I think like during that time, I had a lot of time to reflect on falling short of those goals and being disappointed and having all this unfinished business and then it's like forgiving myself
Mm.
also. So it's like I fell short and I know what that feels like and that sucks, but then also like I forgave myself and I was okay. I got married and have kids and like I'm very happy as a person. So like now coming back into the running space, I've failed in running and it sucks and I hate that, but I've also failed and I've been okay. So I feel very, very like free in this like second round of my running that like, either way, if it goes great, if it doesn't, I'm going to be okay.
That's really good. It's I think valuable mindset because I think a lot of athletes that perform at a high level can relate to that. I think it's one of the hardest transitions is when athletes finish college and then they don't have sport anymore. It's like, it's such a big piece of their identity, like you said, that they're like, okay, like, what do I do now? And that transition's often hard, but the fact that you were able to, find priority and purpose and other things and now go back to running probably gives you a completely different outlook just in the sport in general.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that I've been an elite runner and I've been an injured runner and everything in between. So I have this huge respect for the sport and for running and for like the running community. Any walk that running's in your life, like I've run to lose weight, I've run to be healthy, I've run for just the community, and I've run to compete. So I think just having looked at running and having in my life so many different ways, there's just a certain gratitude and appreciation for the sport.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what was the point then? Because you're on this stretch where you're running more for fun, leisure. When did it become apparent to you where you were like, hey, I think I want to start, competing and training seriously again?
Yeah, that took a while because after I had my daughter Quinn, I was running just to, feel healthy and lose weight after pregnancy. And it took me a while. Like originally my goal was my first run, it was just to run 3 minutes. And then eventually I trained my way up to being able to do a 5K. And, then I eventually did a marathon and I was 2 minutes from the Olympic qualifying standard. And that took like years after having my daughter. I'm fast forwarding this, but it's not like that didn't happen overnight by any stretch of the imagination. But when I did the marathon and I was 2 minutes off, it all of a sudden, like, it gave me hope and permission. Like, I have an opportunity to make the Olympic trials. Like, that's pretty wild. Like, as a mom and a realtor, I never thought that I'd be here. And so I just felt like it was too good and just too awesome not to try and see what happens. And then I did it and I qualified for the Olympic trials for the marathon. And then that goal got pushed ahead. And then I hit that goal and then I pushed it. So I feel like I was never my intention to be where I am right now, but I just kept at it and kept hitting these, little marginal goals that got me to where I'm now.
Yeah. You told me a story about how you ended up in that first marathon back too. How are you even there running that one?
Yeah, so I had given for Christmas, my husband's like pretty hard to shop for, so I got him an entry to a marathon thinking that would be, it's like a gift that's like nice, but then it's also like kind of like the worst gift ever because training for a marathon is really hard. So he was like, "Oh, thanks, I think." And then I felt bad that I just gifted him a marathon. So I was like, "Oh, I'll sign up with you and I'll train with you and do it." So but yeah, that was kind of just maybe like it was a joke gift, really. And then I felt bad.
Yep. That's hilarious. So you qualified for the Olympic trials shortly after that. And then that was the trials this past year, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Awesome. So then how did the trials go for you? How was that race?
Yeah, I think overall, on paper, it went well. I was 15th overall and I had run my fastest time ever. So that was good. So definitely steps in the right direction. But I was hoping, I feel like I didn't quite nail it that day. I feel like I was in better shape than what the race showed. And it was a hilly course and very windy that day. But regardless, I thought I was more fit than I did that day. And I learned a lot from just my mental process, like during the race. I felt like there was a moment where, I felt kind of like an imposter and like the self-doubt like creeped in. And so I've used that and I don't want that to happen again. So that's been really helpful. But overall, I think it was great. And as a mom having my kids at the Olympic trials and seeing their mom finish 15th overall, that was, that's a pretty good day.
That's awesome. So that was back in February.
Yeah.
And then what was kind of your next hard effort? Because after that was when stuff started to click, it seems like a lot.
Yeah.
So what was maybe like your next hard effort after that? Because this whole year, the racing schedule got completely flipped upside down because that was right before COVID.
Right.
And then we shifted into pretty much no track season. So there was a lot of time trials and things like that happening. So what was next for you?
Yeah, so right after the trials, I actually was supposed to be part of Team USA for the World Half Marathon Championships, which originally was supposed to be just about a month after the trials. So after the trials, I, honored the recovery for a marathon because you have to, and a lot of bad stuff can happen if you don't. So I took a little bit of time off, but then ramped up pretty quickly to get ready for that half marathon. But that's when the world shut down.
Mm.
So that race then was postponed to the fall. And but it didn't, for me, when everything shut down with all the races and they were all canceled, like my immediate reaction was like, running's not canceled for me. Like, this isn't
Mm.
where my journey ends. This is a journey personally for me to see how fast Keira can run, and I'm not there yet. So instead of having the races in the summer, like in the June, July, the track races, I substitute them with time trials just by myself on the track or with a buddy. And we just kept moving forward. So with everything shifted just a year now, the focus changed from June 2021, the U.S. Olympic track trials, to now from June 2020 to June 2021. So we just shifted everything a year, and it gave us a little bit of room to like play this year and put together some fun races and to go after, some fun events. And then it just gives me another year to get ready. So I'm kind of like pedal to the metal. Like, you give me another year, I'm going to show up ready to rumble.
That's so awesome. We talked about this a little bit too, but you're one of the things that I've always noticed about you, at least over the last year or so, just following you on social media, following you on Strava, especially, which I might ask you about, because people love your headlines. But you talked about there was like a mindset shift around running now versus running when you were an American. You felt like maybe at American, there's a lot of pressure on you, but now it was more of, hey, I'm running for myself. I'm competing against myself. Maybe talk about just the mentality and kind of the difference in headspace between those two.
Yeah, I mean, definitely from now, I've matured so much in my thinking and the way that I can process pressure in my goals. But back in college, it was so focused about the championship season or hitting a time or qualifying for this. There was all these external goals that you feel a lot of pressure on. In training now, it's a very internal process for me, and it's about perfecting my craft of running. So I've really enjoyed just the day-to-day grind and the weekly process, and just seeing that ever so slightly improvement week to week. And my coach makes fun of me because pretty much at the end of every workout, I'll be like, well, I think that was my best workout ever. And he's like, well, you say that every week. And I'm like, yeah, because every week I just get a little bit better, and I just a little more confident, and a little, like, it's just so it's a really good feeling when you just feel like you're improving just a little bit over time. But I think with that internal focus and like none of the expectations or the external pressures, like, I'm running for me and I want to see how fast I can run. And I think that mindset for me has kept it really, really fun, and just allowed me to really focus on what's important, and that's just running as fast as I can.
That's awesome. So then the effort, or I guess the time trial that kind of put everybody on notice was back in June when you ran a 5K. You ran 15:04 at the 5K. All right. What was your PR before that race?
1609, my senior year at college and nationals. Yeah. And,
I honestly didn't know the answer to that question. That's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So,
So about a minute PR. That was a pretty good day.
oh my gosh, that's amazing. So 15:04, and I almost feel like it's taboo to ask you, but for context, how old are you now? That's like the
I
horrible question for a guy.
No, it's fine. And I get that question a lot, and it doesn't bother me one bit. I just turned 36. So when I ran the 15:04, someone told me afterwards that it was the seventh fastest time in the world ever for someone 35 and over. I feel like that's really specific. It's like, if you add enough, like, variables in there, it's going to hit something. But that's pretty cool. Like, there's not too many women my age that have run faster than me. So
Yeah. And what were your splits on that one? Do you remember?
yeah, it was a negative split. I think it was like 4:53, 4:52, and then 4:47 or something. And then I closed in 65. So that was a nice last lap.
Yeah, it's a pretty good close. That's awesome. And you were going out there thinking you were going to be somewhere around there?
Yeah, I thought that if it was in a race scenario, I think I could have probably run a little faster. And I, going from a 1609 to a 1504, there's probably a little bit of like confidence that needed to catch up. So I knew my body could run a lot faster, but like mentally, that's a little intimidating to take so much off your time. But I felt like if it was a good day, I'd run 1510 to 1520. If it was a great day, it would be 15 flat to 1510. And if it was just like a through the roof, like, raise the roof, everything went really well, I thought I was going to break 15 that day. So it was right in line with kind of where I thought I would be. But I knew what time I was going to hit just because what paces I felt like from workouts or indicators of what I could run. But I didn't even stop to look like what was the Olympic qualifying time or what was the world standard or how that ranked. Like it's never, again, like I've kept it so internal that
Yeah,
I had no idea the reaction afterwards or how fast that was. Like I had no idea.
that's really cool. Very awesome. Yeah. So then after that, so 1504, what were kind of the races or I guess efforts, coming out of that? Did you have anything in between the 10 mile that was like a big race
Yeah,
effort for you?
I did. 2 weeks after that, I did a mile completely by myself on the track and I ran 4:33, which for being, it was, I think we started running at 6 a.m. because it was the middle of summer and very, very hot. And literally, I was the only person on the track. And I learned then that miles are really tough, man. It's like the same amount of pain that you would feel in a 5K, but just like smushed into 1 mile. So that was interesting, but I'd like to give that another shot. I think I could really do some damage to that. But then I went up to Boston and did the movement 10K with Molly Seidel and our coach, John Green, put that on. And then in October, I did the Michigan Pro half out in Michigan with the Hansons. And then in Memphis, the 5K in November. And then I did my 10 miler. So I've had surprisingly with COVID and everything being shut down, I feel like I've had a pretty full fall racing season, which has been really special. I feel grateful that I've been able to get out there and race.
Yeah. We're fortunate that, we're in a sport that allows that, right? Being outside, it's a little bit easier to run some of these smaller events.
Right.
Yeah. So the 10 miler, that was a focal point for you or really where you were peaking around?
Not really. It was kind of just like a fun insert. Like I could have done like a long tempo that day, or I could have done a 10-mile race, and I would much rather race than do a tempo. So, but this fall has all been about like base training, strength training. I have a marathon soon, so it's all been like longer distance. So that was a perfect, just hard workout in the middle of the season, whether it was a workout or we ended up getting it to be a race, but it was kind of just a stepping stone to where I'm going.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know I saw that the 10-mile record was 52:12, and I was like, hey, I think I can run that. Why would I not try to go after an American record? So with the help of the credit union Cherry Blossom, they helped me plan this race in DC to try to go after it.
How far of a runway did you have where you were like, hey, I think I can break the record? Like what was that? Was it like a month before or?
No, I in March is when I was like aware of the record,
Okay.
and I was thinking maybe I could do the Cherry Blossom in April to try to go after it. And then when all of that got canceled, that was kind of just sitting in the back of my mind. And yeah, when everything is canceled and you're trying to stay motivated, like you have to create, and there's no races, you create your own thing. So for me, putting that 10-mile to go after American record, that was like the light at the end of the tunnel, like my hope training through COVID. It was like my why, like why I could get up every morning and work so hard, was knowing that I had the opportunity to go after an American record.
That's awesome. So you were waking up, you were thinking about it every day. It
Oh
was just
yeah.
kind of there. Yeah. So what did you think that you could run going into that time wise? Like what were your expectations?
Yeah, I knew I could run that time. I've done
Yeah.
enough work, like it was her record was 5:13 per mile. And so I felt pretty comfortable. I had done a half marathon on, not a super fast course, but I ran 5:16 per mile in a half marathon. So I knew for 10 miles, especially if it's a flat, fast course, that I would be fine running that. So I mean, and it's funny because like I said, like all these races, I just try to treat them like workouts, just so like the pressure is very manageable. So, getting up that day, I asked Mike, he was at the race. So I just asked him like at the 10-mile race, I'm like, hey coach, what's the workout today? He's like 10 miles under 5:13 pace. And I'm like, okay, Roger, I can do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's the comment that I was going to make when we were talking about the 5K too, is just your approach. It's not, I think sometimes people can add pressure to themselves on competition days
Yeah.
because they look at it so much differently, but you've just chosen to look at it. This is just another hard effort, another workout.
Yeah. And in a way, like it's how I deal with the stress and the pressure. And
Yeah.
it's really helpful for me just to minimize it. Like I treat it like every single other day. Like I get up and have the same thing for breakfast every single morning. So I just keep it very, very same. But then it's funny because after the race, like at the Olympic Trials Marathon and after this 10-mile race, it like the celebration was kind of wild, but I had done such a great job minimizing the effort in my head to make it
Hmm.
achievable that it doesn't line up. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of confusing. I can't even explain it, but like I play such a great mind game with myself that the reaction afterwards is confusing to me.
Nice. And you didn't just break the record, Keira. It was 52:12 and you ran 51:23
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
time. So you broke it by 49 seconds.
Yeah.
So take us through, I mean, was there ever any doubt through the race? Were you pretty relaxed, like pretty confident through the whole way? Just take us through the race itself.
Yeah, the race started off and yeah, just knowing that I had to run 5:13 pace, like my first mile, I was thinking like, just don't go out too fast and blow this. Just stay
Yeah.
relaxed. It would be better if you went out a little bit slow than a little bit fast. Like, don't blow it. So I went through the first mile at 5:11 and I was thinking like, perfect. This is
Nice.
great. And then right after you do a mile, it's a 3 times 3 mile loop. So every loop I was just trying to run a little bit faster. So the first mile I felt like or the first loop I felt pretty in control. And then the second loop I was like starting to like grind it out and work a little harder. And then going into the third loop, knowing that the previous two loops had gone so well, I was like feeling pretty good. Like, I have room to grow. Like, I feel like I can start really pushing it. Like, I'm not going all out right now. I felt like I was running within myself. So I got to 8 and I did like a little check. And I think I was like, 20 or 30 seconds ahead of the record. And that was a moment where I was like, oh my goodness, this might happen today. This may
Wow.
happen today. And then going to mile 9, that was the point that I wanted just to blast it. Like I wanted to like really blast that last mile. So I started picking it up, and then with like 1,200 to go, like I started getting really dizzy and my legs started wobbling a little bit. I got a side stitch. Like if you watch like the last mile on video, I'm like raising my hand and trying to like stretch it out. And that was the only point in the race where I felt some doubt. And I was thinking like, oh my goodness, am I going to be able to finish this? Like, and I started to like, I didn't notice this at the time, but if you watch a video, I'm like, I swerve into like the middle of the road. Like I'm just a little confused. And I look down at my watch and I'm like, I have like a half mile left to go. Like
Yeah.
it's less than 3 minutes, Keira. Like put your big girl pants on. You got this. Like, so I kind of just tried to tell all those, little doubting voices in my head just to shove it. And I'm going to do this. So, and then when you get to like 400 left, you do like a sharp turn and then you can see the finish line. And it was in that moment when I turned that like the cramp went away, like all that negative whatever went away. And I saw the finish line and just like sprinted as fast as my legs would take me to that line. And my mom and my husband were holding the finish line tape. And that was really cool. And I could see the clock that I had done it as I crossed the line. And that was, just a pretty surreal moment. Like I can't even put into words how, I don't know how much that moment meant to me, but it was, I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever get to experience something like that again, but it was pretty magical.
That's awesome. Yeah, I watched the video of the finish and you can just see just the emotion, like your husband being there and then you just giving him like a big hug and it kind of looked like you just kind of like melted for a
I know.
moment there, you know?
Part of it, I was so tired too, So it's like, I'm so happy, but I just ran 10 miles as fast as I could. I am really tired.
Oh, no, that's so awesome. So cool to watch. And so, yeah, American record holder, congratulations again on that. And then next you're looking at the marathon project in a couple of weeks, right?
Yep, a week from Sunday. Yeah, on the
From
20th of
Sunday.
December. Mhm.
Okay. Do you have any plans, goals for that yet? You still working on it?
I'm still working on it a little bit. Like we'll come up, the morning or the day before. I'll ask coach, what's the workout tomorrow? We'll go through that whole thing. But I think there's a pacer going at like 223, 224, and that seems like pretty aligned with where I am right now. So I think I'm just going to stick myself in with that and see what can happen from there. So that would be a pretty big PR if I can make that, if I can
Yeah.
hold on for that.
If you could give maybe like one piece of advice to younger runners, whether they're early college, whether they're, early high school, just getting started, I mean, what would be a tip that you might throw out there?
Like the mom in me wants to say just be patient. Like greatness doesn't happen overnight. Like it
Mm.
takes a lot of days, a lot of weeks, and stringing together a lot of months to get where you want to go. And if so don't try to do anything quick. And that just seems like so boring. So the real answer I'm going to say is have a blast, make it fun, figure out how you can really enjoy your time, and you're going to be winning because you're having so much fun. So that's what I'm going to say is just figure out how to make it as fun as possible. And, whatever sort of motivation you need to say, or whatever you need, games you need to play in your head, and, and also like I found the faster I run, the more fun I have. So, that I think that goes all hand in hand with running pretty fast, but just make sure you're having a good time.
So great. So, and speaking of having fun, I wanted to ask you, we'll kind of end and start winding down on this, but I wanted to ask you about, so for the people that follow you on Strava, they know that you throw out some pretty good punchlines for your titles there. My question is, Keira, where do you come up with all this content?
So it's a mashup of like so many different walks of my life. It started because my kids and I would get those popsicles that had the jokes on the sticks. So
Okay.
like 2 or 3, 4 years ago, whenever I started this, they were just the jokes from the popsicle sticks every night. And then it started turning, and then we ran out of those popsicles and moved on to ice cream, or we went through that fad. So then it turned into just jokes that I'd remembered from my whole life. I've always kind of been like a collector of jokes. Like when I hear a good one, I try to file it away in my brain. And then sometimes I just ask Alexa, like I'll finish a run and walk in the door and be like, Alexa, tell me a joke. And then yeah, it's just, and then sometimes it's just funny things that I think of during my run or see during my run, or stuff my kid does is they're pretty funny, to laugh with and laugh at. So I try to put that up there too. But yeah, it's just something that makes me smile or laugh, because at first I just got sick of just seeing like morning run, afternoon
Mm,
run, night run. And I'm like, this is so boring. Like I
yep.
gotta spice this up a little bit. And like I said, like this is all about fun. So if it makes me laugh, and if I can make other people laugh too, I feel like I'm winning there. So
So good. Now, I think that's a mindset that people can apply no matter what field they're in or sport or whatever it is that they're pursuing. So
yeah.
super valuable points there. But
Yeah.
Keira, it was awesome having you on. Really appreciate your time today, and wishing you the best of luck with the marathon project and the upcoming races, and excited to see where it takes you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This was a lot of fun, and yeah, keep on keeping on.
Awesome, Keira. Thanks so much.